center. So you may have a minority that walks out. Believe me, their alternates are chomping at the bit. There's, all these alternates show up. Most conventions, alternates do not show up. The alternates, I'm sure, for the most part, probably 90% have shown up. And if there's any kind of a walkout, you can expect the alternates to fill in. And clearly, the body of delegates for the overall convention is in the 70 to 80% range. So
Donald Trump's got it. Donald Trump's got it. They're just trying to embarrass him, like with this thing claiming that Melania plagiarized. I read her speech versus the other. This is classic stuff you say about, loving her parents, loving the roots, loving America, the American dream. But it's not even the exact words. Clearly not plagiarism. It's just basically stating stuff everybody says. Talk about desperate. This is so obvious. I think this is going to backfire him as well. Stay there, Richard. I want to talk to you about this straight ahead. I'm Alex Jones with Infowars.com. When he said he's on the mobile pirate command base, when Hillary had an exclusion zone a week ago put in to stop our planes from flying starting on Monday, we flew the days before, I said, that's it. A little bird told me there's going to be a micro FM pirate transmitter brought in an open frequency. It covers the whole city. It's 94.5. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back live. Richard Reeves joins us from a mobile command bus that is sending out 94.5. We'll have a frequency, obviously, in Philadelphia. We're going to have aircraft in other parts of the country since they're censoring us there. We're having a gigantic effect. We have mobile TV vans that have giant jumbotrons with 94.5 and Infowars.com for live coverage driving around. I've told folks this year, I normally try to piggy bank some extra money for emergency backup for the Infowars operation. We're hiring new people, new reporters, camera folks, writers. We are putting everything in full push. And we're working 14 to 15 hours a day, not just here, but the crew back in Austin. I want to thank you all for your support. But we are all in. Richard Reeves, what is it like for you? You've been working with me off and on for, 18 years or so. We've covered other RNCs in New York and Denver together, DNCs. What is it like just to see what the InfoWar is doing? Not bragging about InfoWar, but just an example of populism in the globalist face. We have such devastating success. Hundreds of news articles a day, hundreds of TV stations covering stuff. We're dominating coverage. Our information's getting out. It's having a huge effect, Richard. That just shows if others take action, goodbye New World Order.
Absolutely. 2 words to describe it: exhilarating, electrifying. It's been unbelievable to see the progress we've made. Huge progress going on. That's why the Never Trumpers, the last tail end of the establishment faction, they're going to pull whatever they pull tomorrow, their parliamentary trick, but they're going down. And I think one of the key things that happened along the way was Donald Trump hiring Paul Manafort at the suggestion of Roger Stone. That combined with Roger Stone coming on your show, getting all the intel out, rallying the info warriors, and ultimately the most important people of all are the...
But again, it's not about credit. I'm not that big. Stone isn't that big. Drudge is big, but not that big. The elite is a rotting carcass. All we have to do is stand up against it like an old rotting barn. In a big wind, it's going to blow over. I think we've reached that point, Richard.
Absolutely. You used to have a little trailer that you'd played. It was, I think, from the Dark Crystal, where the Emperor is on his deathbed, and they're trying to grab his scepter. And you know how they try to get his scepter from him, and he says, "I'm not dead yet," and he reaches out and grabs it back. Well, I think we've passed the point where the Emperor can even say that I'm not dead yet. Basically, the Emperor is not able to really reach back for the scepter anymore, except maybe in his death dreams. So, yes, absolutely.
I totally agree. In fact, can we come in? They got one in German and Chinese. We always should play that one. Play the one in English, Dark Crystal, Death of the Emperor. And, of course, I played this when the Saudi king died. They tried to censor us and got real mad. I said, this is actual footage of the Saudi king dying. But that censorship failed. But, yeah, we should play that because Hillary is literally them trying to reanimate this. And they've never made themselves more open and more clear. What in your gut, Richard? Because I remember you coming with like a year and a half ago with Stone to the office in that meeting we had. We can't get into the internal baseball of that, obviously. But just the fact that Donald Trump would basically reach out to us shows you what Dr. Corsi said 6 months ago is true. He knew him 40 years ago, and Trump has always been an anti-New World Order guy. He was just keeping it stealth until he activated, and they've got a dossier on him, and that's why they're so scared. I really think that's the truth. I think Trump is a stealth patriot.
Well, I absolutely think we're going to get the opportunity to find out. I think that, here we are towards about 3/4 through July. So we've got August, September, October for more and more people to wake up. It's that 100th monkey syndrome, where you've got the 100 monkeys on the island, and we're up there where probably there's 25, 30, or 40% of the monkeys are awake. So if those 20 or 30% can just wake up one other monkey, well, you're talking about 60 to 70% of us Info Warrior monkeys are going to be wide awake, and we're going to be ready to fire Hillary.
Tipping
and
point.
Donald Trump's going to come in. I think he's going to prosecute her to the max. This Hillary for prison meme hopefully will become a reality, because I know that with the airplanes in the air and the trucks floating around with the ads, everything, that meme has just gotten out there so big.
And notice everybody wants her to go to prison with her being above the law. It's just beautiful. And folks say, Hillary might come after you. Like, oh, you mean they might come after me? Oh, I never thought of that. Oh, God, I'm quitting what I'm doing. We're going here to basically the new Black Panther Party, kill the pig event in an hour. Yeah, we know, okay? People just don't get, Biggs, the fact that we're committed, and they keep telling us, hey, you might get hurt. Oh, really?
It's part of the job.
It's part of the job. I'm not rolling over and waiting into my house, folks, for people to come and dig me,
And
on the field of battle, on the field, on the intellectual field. We're on the field. Right out.
That's right, Alex. And speaking of the protesters, I in 2008, I went to the RNC in St. Paul, and what I saw so far over there in St. Paul was a much bigger left-wing opposition. So it's got to be frustrating for poor billionaire George Soros that, hey, he's got unlimited money, but you know what? He doesn't have enough stinky, unbathed protesters to show up at the RNC in Cleveland.
That's right. Let's look at some of this scum. Let's come in with the A-Team abortionist clip, and then we'll go back to Richard and to callers. I'm going to give the number out, 800-25-99231. Open phones, 800-25-99231. That's right. We're Americans. We love freedom. We're standing up for private property, for religious freedom, for family values, for the Second Amendment. We don't think our troops or our police are perfect, but they're not our enemy. We're not out to kill them. We're here to try to rebuild this country. There's a lot of evil forces that are here trying to bring us down and capture this nation. And if they capture this country, the whole world's got to be in serious fear, because then a lot of bad stuff's going to happen. It's our job to do it. We're very honored to do it. We're not heroes. We have the instinct not to be slaves and to fight back against scum. And we're going to go back to Richard Reeves and your phone calls here in a moment. But I was talking to Biggs during the break, and I said, we got to make a bigger deal out of this. I didn't realize Dix, the main provocateur where really bad stuff happens everywhere, is here running the new Black Panther Party and other Soros-connected groups like the Communists. List who exactly is kicking off a rally in an hour in 24 minutes from now. We're going to be there from the start of it. Paul Watson takes over the next hour, but in about 25, 30 minutes, we're going to start walking over to where we're going to be, just about a block and a half away. Give folks an update on this, Biggs. Everybody needs to tweet this out and Facebook this out right now.
Dr. Cornel West is a real well-known socialist guy, professor type. He goes around, spews a lot of his, communist propaganda, things like that. Carl Dix is one of the co-founders of the Revolutionary Communist Party, along with their leader, Bob Avakian. And these guys, you will see them all over the country at every single powder keg that goes off, every place like Ferguson, Baltimore, everywhere that there is some kind of racial tension, they try to feed on that, and they try to empower these young black men to incite violence. In Ferguson, we saw Carl Dix in the group getting people pumped up on the megaphone and then kind of like whispering in their ears, and then you would see these guys throw Molotov cocktails and then attack into the crowd and then start this entire chaotic scenario. And then what does Carl Dix do? He pulls back and kind of sits on the sideline and smirks and then talks about how he's this great leader.
And again, they're not even communists. They're globalists. They know who they are. They're above the law. If they were a regular group, they'd be arrested. What they're doing is illegal.
Yeah, so 4 o'clock today here in Cleveland. If you're in the surrounding area, we're going to encourage all of you to come out and show your support for Infowars.com. Engage these people.
And by the way, notice, these are the groups with Soros and others that are fomenting everything. I just even hearing about them makes me physically sick and physically angry. But I'm going to be peaceful.
Well, George Soros
is watching these pieces of trash, man.
George Soros' group is here in full numbers, MoveOn.org. They've rented out numerous floors on multiple hotels around this area.
They're operatives down there.
And that's what they're doing. They're here to start something. Luckily, it hasn't been, able to work out yet, but at some point in time, they're going to be able to find a weak point, and they're going to hit that weak point and do what they always do, incite violence, cause chaos, and then at the end of the day, they're going to blame it on Donald Trump, and then they're going to get their George Soros paychecks, go back to their home. They're not even from here. They don't care about going into other
events, and they show up. They pull up in like $80,000, $70,000, $100,000 black Mercedes, Jaguars, and they all know it's a con. And they always have these idiot college kids following them. I mean, it's just
There was
crazy.
4 school buses that were being police escorted coming down the road earlier. And I'm sitting there thinking, I wonder if these are some of these paid protesters that are being busted.
I'm telling you, cops are escorting the very people. In some cases, they're going to shoot them in the back. And I've just personally had enough of the police putting up with it.
You know, we've been talking about these guys being busted, and people laugh. You know, when I was at that last Donald Trump rally, the cops said, hey, we need to push you on this side of the road so these guys can go on this side of the sidewalk and get back to their bus so they can make it in time. And I said, what? Say that again. He goes, oh, yeah, these guys get paid. They're busted in to come here. And we're seeing that. George Soros is putting all this money in to do everything he can to stop Trump. And it's just not working because most Americans, you know, most people out there are becoming the, you know, they're starting to wake up.
These communists are. They don't know how to put up a pirate radio station or have billboards everywhere or raise the money to put stuff in the air to have the #1 meme. It's why we're going to kick their ass. Okay? You're getting your butts kicked, period. And I mean politically. I mean politically. But I am not going to sit here and watch this anymore, the destabilization of this country. And I cannot believe they can find sacks of garbage that go along with this. I'm done. I'm done.
It was funny. I saw so many people yesterday still wearing their Bernie Sanders shirts, and I kept going up to them. I was like, how does it feel to get burned by your own man? I was like, one guy,
another piece of crap.
Another guy, this one guy, he claimed to be like so perfect, like he was anti-establishment, that he was going to actually be this true politician that was going to come in and clean everything up. And what does he do? He sells out to the worst career politician. And then what does he stand up for? What does Bernie Sanders talk about? White privilege. You don't know what it's like to be poor if you're white. Who is the most privileged person?
When cops get killed, Obama says and Hillary says, whites better listen up, as if a random cop getting killed deserves to if some cop did something wrong. It is in another jurisdiction. I mean, it's just totally...
Hillary Clinton's political privilege is showing. She is the epitome of what white privilege is.
I want to say this. This latest guy that shot the cops down in
Baton Rouge,
he was a Nation of Islam. We talked to Farrakhan earlier this year. He said he's worried they're going to foment violence. Even he says no violence. Well, he gets the whole thing's coming down.
Did you notice how this guy was a former Marine? The guy in Dallas was former Army. Is the next guy going to be former Navy? And then the next guy, former Air Force? It seems like they're doing something to demonize the military as well. They've been doing that on all fronts. I have no doubt
there's not something staged behind this in the Obama administration where they can, because the manuals they say is the veterans are your enemies. It might be totally staged, exactly.
I mean, trust me, the people that died and all that. But I mean,
no, exactly. Yeah, but I'm saying,
but we have to clarify that sometimes. Yeah,
into there.
They're definitely.
Well, the White House is pushing the whole narrative. They might even be winding the guys up.
Manchurian candidates sitting there waiting.
Who knows, man? Who knows? Let's go ahead and go back to Richard Reeves and phone calls. Richard Reeves, final breakdowns on day 2 before we have live coverage tonight, obviously inside.
Well, the final breakdown is you and I have discussed a long time ago, is the New World Order does have so many wind-up toys. They've got these Manchurian candidates out there drugged up on Prozac and other psychotropics and brainwashed with so much internet coming through their smartphones and you name it, all the different multimedia that they do on their end. But even so, no weapon fashioned against us shall prosper. And one of the proofs of that was back in March 11th. That was the Friday night in Chicago that the Donald Trump event got shut down. And what happened just four or 5 days later? Donald Trump wins Florida big time. He won it by double-digit points over Marco Rubio. He did better than expected in Ohio. That's really March 11th. Mark it down, everybody. March 11th, when they had the big protest that shut down the Donald Trump event in Chicago, huge turning point. And so, I could probably list down the calendar probably 10 different days when you had these huge turning points demonstrating no weapon against us shall prosper. So that's what we have to work with, and we just have to keep pushing that rock. And we're really having results now, Alex.
I agree. And once Trump gets in, we can't just abandon him if everything doesn't go perfect. This is the long haul. The globalists don't like him. He's a nationalist. This is the epic battle. Bringing America down wasn't going to be easy. And they say that situation makes great men and great women. That's so true. And Donald Trump has stepped into that place in history. So have we. So has DrudgeReport.com. So have many other patriots out there. And I keep giving DrudgeReport.com credit because the enemies looked at it. And they're really coming after Drudge now and really criticizing him and saying, he's the reason, he's the reason. And so that's kind of credit you don't want, but we got to just recognize who's with us on this intellectual battlefield, Reeves.
Well, I think, absolutely, who's with us. Drudge being on board has been a huge one. I remember when he had his radio show on Sunday nights, And I knew way back then, I think it was 2008, 2009,